Well, the media coverage of English football can be a very, very, very weird beast. Because you can have it where, the biggest news stories in the world have happened when it comes to title wins and teams winning tournaments, and then focus ends up going on to drama elsewhere that's seemingly not as big as the main thing. Now, I'll give you actually a couple of examples that have happened over the past couple of years to show you that it's not a team thing, right? Last year, Liverpool won the Premier League. Focus quickly drifted away from Liverpool winning the Premier League to Manchester United and Tottenham, only just escaping the relegation zone by the skin of their teeth and getting very, very lucky in regards to that, and then all the drama that was going on surrounding that, and also all the Jim Radcliffe stuff. Understandably so. Then you had the Man City title win. What was the focus on? Jurgen Klopp's retirement. In fact, there was more people watching the Liverpool match than there were watching the Man City match, where it still wasn't guaranteed they were going to win the title. It was a little bit nuts, to be honest, right? And we've got exactly the same thing that's happening here. We have had the Premier League winners confirmed, quickly glossed over. We had the Europa League winners confirmed, which, has been a bit of a big story, and especially in our family, because there is supporters for that in our family. But again, that's been brushed under the carpet to talk about something that's not even happening in the top league. But it is still big. So what we're going to do is we are going to skim over skip over the scores and fixtures this time, to just really give ourselves the opportunity to talk about these news in detail. We are going to talk about the wins and everything like that. And we're going to start with the big one. We're going to start with the big one, which is the fact that on Tuesday night, Manchester City dropped points against Bournemouth, and that confirmed that Arsenal won the title. They fricking did it. And do you know what? It has been exhausting to watch them, but that's as a neutral, right? It's not for Arsenal fans. This is the thing: when it comes to your own football club, you don't care how you win; you just win, right? If Liverpool was to win a title by winning every match 1-0 in the 91st minute and it's boring and everything like that, I would not care one bit because of winning the title. And so credit to Arsenal for winning the title, no matter how entertaining or not it was. And there is obviously some controversial moments that have happened and people are going to talk about that. But again, that happens all the time. Right? There's always involvement of that, and I don't want to focus too much on that because ultimately Arsenal have played so well over the past 5 years. They've deserved at least one Premier League title, and it's great that it's happened almost on the last day of the season, and they get to have a trophy parade right at the end. Fantastic. It's going to be amazing for them. Maybe even could be bigger with the Champions League final coming up. Is it this weekend or next weekend? I think it might be next weekend. Yeah, so really well done to them. And this is the thing. Credit to Arteta. Huge credit to Arteta because he has built on struggling foundations. You could make the argument that Arsenal were in a similar position to where Liverpool were before Jurgen Klopp came. And whilst Arteta isn't the prestige, let's say, of Jurgen Klopp, and at the moment hasn't won as many trophies, you can't discredit the work he has put in Arsenal. And I think it's actually really impressive to see the work he's put in. And it's fantastic to see joy. Now, for those that live in London or support London clubs that aren't Arsenal fans, well, you're going to have to deal with this for a little while. You're going to have to deal with this a little while. This is obviously going to be big news to you guys, and I'm sorry to hear that, but Yeah, it's not great. But here's the thing: Arsenal have done fantastically well, and I think that needs to be underlined. And the one thing I do not want to hear anyone say at all is whether they are the best Premier League winners, the worst Premier League winners, whether it's the best fairy tale, whether it's the worst fairy tale. I'm not up for that comparative nonsense. You know, to give you an example, I hear stuff about it being more of a fairy tale win than the Leicester City Premier League title for some strange reason. I also hear stuff where it goes, oh yeah, this Arsenal team, they are the worst Premier League champions ever. And it's like, what are you talking about? Why are we comparing? They are the best, period. You don't hear that, by the way. You don't really hear that in any other sports. I cover Formula 1 on this channel as well, right? We don't ever talk about who's the worst Formula 1 world champion ever. Or what's the biggest and best fairy tale Formula 1 championship ever. Because that feels unfair. Why are we discrediting people, teams, for their achievements? It is a huge achievement and it should be underlined as such. So it doesn't matter how you feel about how good this Premier League win is. The main thing is Arsenal won the Premier League. And that is something that cannot be wiped out. And to discredit it seems a little bit ridiculous as well. Those are my thoughts. But yeah, congratulations, Mikel Arteta. Commiserations to Pep Guardiola. By the way, I forgot to add this onto my things to talk about. Pep Guardiola leaving. Maresca coming in. Next season's going to be a lot different. I'm fascinated. I'm nervous, but it's going to be interesting times. Anyways. Now let's talk about the second load of winners that we had that happened on the Wednesday. Yes, we got really quickly into this, which is Aston Villa won the Europa League against Freiburg. Freiburg are a good team, by the way. They are a great team, and they got outclassed by Aston Villa. 3-0 victory. 3-0 victory for Aston Villa. Really impressive. And, you know, when we think about the situation that Aston Villa have been in, you know, we're talking, what, about 10 years ago? When they were one of the worst teams in the Premier League. It was awful. Like, they were the equivalent of Derby. They were bottom of the league, and they ended up in the Championship. They struggled, but they finally got promoted. Then they were struggling to even survive. In fact, it took a dodgy VAR decision, basically goal line technology that broke, for them to stay up at the expense of Sheffield United. Was it Sheffield United? I feel it was. And then the rise started, then stopped, and then carried on. I remember the time when, you know, Steven Gerrard came in and everyone was thinking that was going to be the rise. And then Emery came in and it slowly built. And we're now starting to see that impressive work that team has got. And that is a well-drilled team, that Aston Villa team. Really, really impressive. I should know they beat Liverpool 4-2. That was a painful Friday. But, yeah, credit to Aston Villa. It was great. And, you know, I have family members who are Aston Villa fans. Yeah, there was a lot of shirtless pictures in the family chats. But anyway, fantastic. So, that's the winners. But like I say, there is a big, and actually at the moment, at the time of recording, still developing news story that is happening. We spoke a little bit about it last week, about Spygate, and it has now been confirmed. Southampton have been expelled from the playoffs. They even appealed it and it got rejected. This is it. Southampton have been kicked out of the playoffs. Middlesbrough are back in the playoffs, which means they'll be playing Hull in the final. this weekend. This weekend, Hull and Middlesbrough will be the ones battling it out for the last spot in the Premier League. It's huge. But this is massive. In fact, it's developing as we speak. We're in a situation where the FA are now investigating it. Previously, it was just a disciplinary panel. Now it's the FA that's investigating it. It's found out that Thomas Eckhart himself, he was the one that was in charge of the spying. Whether that is the case that he's just the scapegoat, or whether it is truthful, I don't know. But that is certainly the situation. What is interesting, though, is the multiple layers that there are to this scenario. Let's take the one that everyone's been talking about to start off with, which is the fans. Because ultimately, we can look at this in terms of, purely through a TV lens. And if, wherever you are in the world, you might be watching these matches just on the TV. You might just go, oh, it's just a small little fixture change. It was Southampton, it's now Middlesbrough. That's a bit crazy, but yeah, sure. But there's a little bit more to it than that, and this is where the frustration comes in, because here's the thing. First things first. London is expensive. And the situation you're going to find yourself in is that because of the distance being travelled, and I know that Southampton is a little bit closer to London than Middlesbrough is, but it's still a distance that will make you think about getting hotels and things like that. So you're paying for the travel to get there, whether that be individually or on a coach. You are paying for the ticket, which is blooming expensive on its own. You are paying for the hotel, and you've paid for all of that. And then you're not going to be going there to support your own team. It's a bit messy. It's really messy, in fact. Now, the challenging thing is that will be where the focus goes. And by the way, Middlesbrough, when was it? It was a couple of days ago that it happened. Yeah, on the Tuesday. So yesterday, the Middlesbrough fans were starting to book their tickets. And we're closer to the Saturday now. So guess what? The hotels are going to be more expensive. The tickets are going to be potentially more expensive because people take advantage of that. It's a messy scenario that is like one of these sort of consequences of what happens. But I'm going to touch a little bit more on that and how I feel about that a little bit later on, because I want to first let's start from the top and work it way down. And let's start with Southampton itself. Now, some people could claim, and I've heard it said to me, right, could claim that Southampton have been dealt very harshly. That, we're talking about, okay, then taking a couple of photos of the other team, it's not really going to give you much of an advantage. So, yeah, like, why is this such a big thing? And here's my thought on that. First thing is, how do you know it's harsh? Because you see, this is the first time that this law has been broken. And you're probably looking at me and going, wait, hold on. But Leeds spied. Leeds spied? What? Did they not break a rule then? And no, they did not. Because when they spied on Derby, they then created the law and realised we need to create a law for this, which is that teams cannot be spied on 72 hours before a match. So that's point number one in terms of we don't know whether it's too harsh or not. Point number two, though, is that it's been found out there's been at least 3 times that Southampton have been spying. So that adds a little bit of jeopardy to it as well. And I think this is actually a really good move from the EFL. It sets a precedent, and I think it sets a good precedent, because ultimately, spying on another team feels like an unfair advantage. Might not get you much, but it's still an unfair advantage. Fine margins count when it comes to the championship, when it comes to football in general, you know? Finding out a way that you could just about get that small little edge. And weirdly, it kind of didn't help Southampton, but they still searched for it. Like, I suppose this is the best way of putting it. If you stole from someone, let's say you stole some food from someone, and then you went, oh, actually, it turns out I didn't really need any food. You're still going to get done for stealing, you know? Like, it's still the case. Southampton broke the rules, and we don't want to be seeing this spying, this dodgy stuff. Or do we want to see a free-for-all? I don't know, right? But it feels wrong. It feels wrong. And so by making sure that you go, do you know what? If you are spying on another team 72 hours before the thing, you're kicked out. You're kicked out of the playoffs. Now, if I was the EFL, I'd be like going, by the way, if this happens during the league season, you will automatically get docked 3 points or something like that. Or we will consider your match against the opposition as a forfeit. Maybe that could be done. And I think that'd be, you know, a smart thing for them to make sure, if they're setting this precedent, is to then talk about what the consequences are. Because I think that's the one problem we sometimes find when it comes to league rules, is that what is the consequence of the action that you get, right? We think about it in terms of pitch side situations, right? Violent conduct on the pitch extends your ban to 5 matches or 10 matches, depending on certain violence that is in the parameters. You know what the punishments will be. You know that the punishment for abusing officials, even verbally, is going to get you bans and everything like that. Even in terms of fans, we've seen it this season. If a fan racially abuses a player, they get completely banned from going to football matches. Completely banned. Blacklisted. So we know what the consequences are of certain actions. So I think what we need to have a situation of is that now that we know, okay then, in the playoff competition, if you're spying on an opposition, you're going to get kicked out of the competition. Finding out what you need to do in the league situation will then just help to clarify all of that further. But ultimately, as I say, Southampton broke the rule, and the EFL have done something when it comes to the playoffs to ensure that no one does that thing again. Good. Good. I'm happy about that. Really happy about that. Now, when it comes to the players, and we can talk about Middlesbrough and everything like that, then that's the thing, right? But I do want to talk a little bit about Hull. And look, I've already said that I was supporting Millwall, but Hull was going to be my second team for the playoffs, and I'm going to continue supporting Hull, even more so now, because this is where things then start to get a bit dodgy, because of the spying, Southampton don't deserve to be in the playoff final. But since they basically lost to Southampton, do Middlesbrough deserve to be in the playoff final? Because, yeah, they were spied upon, but they still lost. And that can sometimes... I feel like that's messy. That's a really, really messy situation. Now, the thing that we do know is that Hull have spoken on this. And we know that the likelihood is there's going to be legal action that's going to be taken by Hull if they lose. Which sounds like being a sore loser, but then you realise it kind of makes sense. So I was supporting Hull because I like to see a team in the Premier League that hasn't been there for some time. I know that Middlesbrough and Hull are similar on that. But now I'm doubly supporting Hull because if Hull wins, the matter rests. If Middlesbrough win, we haven't seen the end of this drama. So, something for us to keep an eye on. For definite. For absolute definite. Now, going back to the fans, the Southampton fans here, right? Because, like I say, they've spent the money and everything like that. I think there needs to be something that's put in place to ensure that the fans are fully reimbursed without damaging anything else. Now, how that happens, I don't know. Could they set up a sort of Ticketmaster style, but completely no fees or anything like that? That goes right. Okay, then Southampton fans, if you let's say you purchased tickets for £50. I don't know what the costs are. I've got to be honest. You bought the ticket for £50, right? It goes on the exchange. It costs £50, and as soon as a Middlesbrough fan pays for that ticket, you get your £50 back. And then similar sort of thing when it comes to the hotel. You spent £120 on Hotel X. Put it on this exchange. Once a Middlesbrough fan pays for it, or once somebody pays for it, you get your money back. That way, the Southampton fans don't feel cheated, but also the society doesn't capitalise on these weird scenarios that's basically meant that Middlesbrough have less time to purchase tickets, to purchase hotels. I think that would be fair. I think that would be fair. Like I say, this is developing further. Like I say, Thomas Eckhart has now been thing. I'm actually going to just check to see if it's updated at all soon. It hasn't fully, but it's been confirmed that the manager authorised the spying. And yeah, let's now talk about Thomas Eckhart, because sorry. At the start of this year, he was going to be considered as the next big prospect. Will Still, who was considered the next English prospect, was in charge of Southampton, and they were in the relegation zone, and Eckhart got them to the playoffs. And we were considering him as the next big thing. And you know what's crazy? If they hadn't spied on Middlesbrough, there probably wouldn't have been an investigation. And they probably wouldn't have found out that they were spying on two other teams. His reputation would be intact. But now we're in a situation where his name is mud. His reputation's down the drain. He's toxic. He is like a nuclear radiation site. Who is going to go near Thomas Eckhart? Because of this reputation. Now, I hope he rebuilds this, by the way. I don't know why. I like the idea of seeing him at Sheffield Wednesday next season, if he does get sacked, building them up from the ashes at the time when they need it. That'd be really cool to see, in fact. But it's messy now. Let's not forget. This guy led Southampton to the FA Cup final. By the way, I wonder if they spied on Arsenal. Just wondering. But yeah, they made it to an FA Cup final. They still made it to an FA Cup final. His reputation was up here, and in one incident where he wasn't even there, all gone downhill. All gone downhill. How messy is that? Like I say, I hope he bounces back from this, but it's not great. And I've got to be honest, I don't fully believe this. I really don't. Because, I mean, it says it's an independent disciplinary commission. Who's told him that? So let's have a look. Let's have a look together. Let's see if we can believe the findings based on it. Oh, okay, then he's admitted it. He specifically authorised the observations. And that's interesting. It's not just the fact that it's the fact that it's junior members as well of Southampton were the ones that were doing it as well, which is interesting. Okay. Let's hope he recovers, but that's not a great scenario to be in. But it's funny, isn't it? Life comes at you fast. Marcelo Bielsa, when he spied on another team, so fine, because there was no rule. Tricky. Ironically, tricky is echo backwards, but you know. But anyways, we've got one final weekend to talk about, and we've got the table because we need, and the scores and fixtures because we need to talk about all the ramifications that are going on because it's huge. It is absolutely huge. We're focusing on the Premier League because that's it. Final game. One more game for everybody. We all know where we stand. Arsenal champions. They're going to stay there. Man City are going to stay second. They're not going to drop. Manchester United are going to stay third. They're not going to drop. Aston Villa, Liverpool and Bournemouth, and Brighton, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. Liverpool basically needs a point to confirm Champions League, but a win to get 4th place because Aston Villa in 5th place could give Champions League to 6th place. So 6th place will also be hotly contested by Bournemouth and Brighton. And then you've got the rest of Europe, because if Brighton slip up, you've got Chelsea and Brentford and Sunderland. In fact, crazy scenarios, Newcastle, Everton and Fulham may be good, although it's very, very, very unlikely. So Sunderland, who got promoted last season, could end up with European football. Wild. And at the bottom, we still have only got 2 points between Tottenham Hotspur and West Ham United. Tottenham need a point to pretty much guarantee it with that goal difference. But if they lose and West Ham win, Tottenham are down. So it's big. Really big. And then on top of that, you've got little, rivalries going on, so Sunderland versus Newcastle, battles like that, right? Chelsea, Brentford, by the way, 2 West London clubs. Who's going to be the best of West London? Could actually be Brentford, which is crazy for me to say, but that is true. So let's have a look at those fixtures that are coming up. Let's have a look at what is coming up. So like I say, playoff final, Hull City, Middlesbrough, that's what we've got to look forward to. We've also got Celtic versus Dunfermline, which we've got to look forward to. By the way, sort of congratulations to Celtic for winning the Scottish Premiership, but it still feels dodgy given what happened last week. But anyway. But final day of the Premier League. So Brighton, with their chance of getting Europa League, maybe even Champions League football, have got to beat Manchester United. Burnley and Wolves, not really much between them. Although, if Wolves were to win that match, they'll be 19th. Little win for Wolves. That'd be funny. Crystal Palace playing Arsenal. Bit of a, not really much in it. They could both put out their B teams. Let's just have a bit of fun. Have the kids play. I don't know. Fulham, Newcastle United. Not really much in it for either of them. Fulham or Newcastle, because of just where they are, it's basically impossible for them to get European football, so a bit of a dead rubber. Liverpool against Brentford, and this is where things get a little bit weird. Because we've got Liverpool, Brentford, Manchester City, Aston Villa. I've just realised it doesn't get weird because Brentford aren't in the Champions League picture. Never mind, ignore me. So Liverpool against Brentford, Man City versus Aston Villa. There is a chance that Manchester City could beat Aston Villa. There's also a chance that Liverpool could beat Brentford. But, all messy times in Anfield at the moment. Sunderland have got to play Chelsea. Big task for them, but could be huge if they beat them, because with everything happening going on around it, because Manchester United could be Brighton Hove Albion. Liverpool beating Brentford. Who else is there? Bournemouth. Oh yeah, that's it. Bournemouth. Nottingham Forest. So Nottingham Forest could beat Bournemouth as well. So yeah, Sunderland beating Chelsea. They really do have a chance of being in Europe. And then we have the final 2 games. Tottenham Hotspur Everton, West Ham Leeds. Now for Everton, there's nothing much in it. For Leeds, there's nothing much in it. For different reasons. But who would you put your money on? If you were one of Tottenham Hotspur or West Ham, who would you want to play against? Leeds United or Everton? Everton are a bit more of a dangerous team. Leeds United a bit more of an organised team. Really interesting. Could I see Tottenham losing their match against Everton? Yes. Could I see West Ham beating Leeds? Yes. It's only a small chance that we could get some wildness that could cause Tottenham to go down. But it's still there. We've got a huge, huge, huge weekend with the Championship playoff and the Premier League. It's almost like we've got a Premier League survival playoff and a Championship promotion playoff all happening at the same time. You love to see it. We've also got other playoffs that are going on. So, we've got the League One playoffs. So, battling to get into the second tier between Bolton Wanderers and Stockport County. On Monday, that becomes Notts County and Salford City to get into the third tier. And then here's when it gets interesting. Crystal Palace against Rayo Vallecano on the Wednesday to see who can win the Conference League final and get into the Europa League. So Crystal Palace could join the Europa League. And then, just that small matter of PSG versus Arsenal for the Champions League final. This time next week, we will be previewing only one match, that PSG-Arsenal game. Huge match. Could Arsenal do the double? Could they actually do the double? We've got a heck of a lot to look forward to, and I am here for it. I'm excited for it. Like I say, congratulations to Arsenal, congratulations to Aston Villa, commiserations to Man City, to Freiburg, to everyone else in the Premier League, to be quite honest. And let's see what happens final day of the season, because wow, are we in for a treat. I've been Andy Ninja, and all that's left to say, guys, is don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, and take care.